Welcome, everybody. This is the monthly meeting of the Kubernetes SIG Docs localization subgroup workgroup meeting. This meeting is being recorded. The meeting date for today is November 2nd, 2020. And please follow the CNCF Code of Conduct guidelines. So if we go look at the agenda, and I will put it into the chat if you don't already have it. So from this document, you can find everything you need. So that is in there. And if you don't have edit rights, just DM me, Brad Topel, and I'll make sure to give you, if you're going to attend the meeting, edit rights. Just some logistics. With the time change, we should have met an hour earlier. That was my mistake. So I'm going to update the thing to always just say 1500 UTC, because that was confusing for people, which means our next meeting, we will be meeting an hour earlier. So again, somebody at least updated it for today to hide my shame. So whoever did that, thank you so much. But in general, we're going to put this back at 1500, correct, Irvi? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you everyone for putting up with my inability to do the time change properly. We currently only have one item on the agenda for now, unless people want to add extra items, which we'll give an opportunity to do. But the key item we have was Soko was going to do an overview of the Korean L10 team dev and branch management. So at this point, Soko, I am going to hand over to you.
Okay, thank you. As we discussed in previous meeting, I prepared the overview for Korean localization team and dev branch management. I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to introduce overview for the Korean localization team and dev branch management. I'm a Korean localization team leader, Soko. Keep course. We initiated our localization from the 2018. So it is a little bit earlier stage of the localization teams. And we consist of 11 team members. And there are 6 approver or maintainers in Korean localization team. And as you know, we manage the website content KO directory, and we have several roles, and we're going to introduce. Oh. Okay. I'm going to delete the previous comment. Okay, first of all, we discuss and decide any issues related with Korean localization. And like any other SIG, we have Slack for communication, Slack channel, and we do bi-weekly meeting, and we open the meeting notes. And through those meetings, we make the guideline for Korean localization, and actually we decide how to translate the English term to Korean term glossary. And we try to manage the quality of localization through the review process of PR. As you know, we are doing very lots of effort to localize for the reviewing the PR. And third one is we manage Korean localization dev branch and milestone. As you know there is a master branch and development branch and release branch. And we create the dev branch for Korean localization, and for 2 weeks, and we merge to master, and we keep doing this job. And I'm going to discuss about this managing branch in detail soon. And we collaborate with SIG Docs and SIG Docs localization subgroups, and we collaborate with Kubernetes Korea user group, and we announce our progress, Korean localization progress, to Kubernetes Korea group, and we try to invite contributors from the group as well. And also we sometimes we ask to localize other repositories such as Kubernetes dashboard and kubectl as well. Okay, I'm going to actually other localization teams will hope to would want to know how to manage the branch localization development branch. So I hope to discuss it in detail. As you can see, there is master branch and development branch. And for master branch, we make Korean localization branch, and this localization branch is only for the Korean translation job. Reason why we make this kind of branch is that the English branch, in the master branch, the original document, English document, is keep changing. So to translate, we need a kind of checkpoint. If we don't have checkpoints, then we have to keep checking the changes in the original document. So we need some point to start the translation. So we made this localization branch, dev branch, to provide kind of checkpoint to contributors. And as I already mentioned, we translate English to Korean in that branch, and we keep doing that job. And master branch, about the new minor version release, SIG Docs release, the previous, we make the release branch, and when the dev branch has been merged to master and keep going, then we generate two dev branch First one is the Korean localization dev branch is for Korean localization job for the master branch, and we keep going that. And we also make a dev branch for the release branch as well. It is for makeup job, and we follow this kind of branch switching strategy. And I'm going to introduce in detail. For the 2 weeks job, we make a dev branch from the master checkpoint, master branch. And as you can see, we make dev branches like this. Can you see the mouse point of me? Can you see
Yes,
the mouse point?
yes, absolutely.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm feel hard to use the mouse pointer or laser pointer in the Zoom. Anyway, I will use this mouse pointer, and
It's okay.
we we make the if you have any question, tell me. Don't hesitate.
So,
Uh,
this is Brad. I have a question.
mhm.
You're creating a branch, but then most of the changes in your branch I thought were going to be in the Korean folder. Yet you said the reason you created the branch was you were worried about changes in the master. So, so what's an example of a change in the master that you needed to worry about, even though most of your work was in the Korean folder? I guess you were worried about higher level changes, like changes to CSS, or is it those types of changes that you're worried about? There must be some type of changes that you're worried about. That's why you created the branch.
Yeah. For instance, if we say there is hello world .md
Mhm.
for the English document, and let's say in master branch, various people try to change that document.
Mhm.
Maybe for 2 weeks, during 2 weeks, that document has been changed several times.
Mhm.
And in that time, maybe we Korean team wants to translate that document.
Mhm.
Then which point we should use?
Okay.
If we use the initial version of the hello world.md file, and we start to translate, and someone opened the PR with the translated document, but during the review process, we can notice that the English document already changed or deleted. Then
Oh, okay.
the job is totally useless. So
Mhm.
we try to make some checkpoint. That's why we use the branch strategy.
Right. So it sounds like what you're saying is it would be incredibly frustrating as someone tries to start translating a page. Maybe they get halfway through it and then they somehow look and the whole page has changed. And it's just much safer to just create the branch and work off the branch. And then after the translation 2 week cycle, then it sounds like you merge in and worry about if the page, I guess when it's time to merge in, is that when you notice if a page might have changed that you translated, or do you just merge in because you're the Korean version and you're just translating the older page? So what happens when it's time to merge in and the page that was translated, the English version you realize
Mhm.
has changed? That is my question.
Yes, actually, I can. We merge first, and we handle the outdated content. by using another PR. So I can explain from the another slide.
Okay,
Okay, we can wait.
sure.
Okay, I will keep going from this slide, and we make branch for those regions. And as you can see, we're making some branches, and currently it is table 119 KO4. And when we make new branch, table branch, then we set the netlify for review, and we have authorization for the setting the Korean branch to use the netlify preview.
Mhm.
And then we make a milestone to notify the PR freeze schedule and branch merge schedule. And in this milestone, we include usually two issues and two PRs. It is used for the maintenance region. And first one is issue to invite on issue to invite contributors and notify the schedule for the dev branch. And next one is issue for outdated files. That's the Brad asked to me just before. And we handled this issue by opening up a PR to resolve that outdated content. We actually check the difference in the English document between two branches, and then there's difference, then we update Korean content for that difference as well. So we update Korean documents as well. And then finally, after we do the localization jobs, and then we finally merge that dev branch to master by opening up PR. So those four issues or PRs are very important for Korean localization job.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm going to, yeah.
I was going to say, do you have a tool to identify the outdated pages? How do you realize what's outdated?
Okay, I will, yeah, actually it is next page. So
Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going.
no problem. And this issue is to invite contributions for Korean localization, and we hope to notify the contributors what is the current Korean localization dev branch. So we open this issue with English, and the other side is Korean, so you can check it in English. This issue is for Korean localization for KO4 branch, and we hope to get any localization contributions for Korean. And also we, in Korean localization team, we select Korean PR wrangler. This time it's me, and we assign the reviewers, main reviewers for Korean localization PR. And we introduced the important page, for instance, PR freeze and branch merge target. And it is help wanted issue. And when after we open that help wanted issue, we find out what is outdated parts for new branch. And we use a tool, a Python tool, deep Korean localization branches. Actually, we already put this script in our website script directory, so you can check it through the upstream. And with this kind of command, we can generate a report of outdated contents in content language directory, for instance, Korea, KO, by comparing two localization team milestone branches. So for instance, we can use like this script, and for KO language, we check difference between changes in English document from the KO2 to KO3. Then we can check what is outdated content in Korean in KO3. So if we use this tool, then it generates the GitHub issue like bug report. So we can just grab the whole content and we can open an issue. So this is the opened issue. I just grabbed the previous output, and you can show the this is a bug report, and problem is there are outdated files in the dev branch, Korean dev branch, and 47 files to be modified. So it is English document. We can check what is changed in English document, and we should apply the changes to Korean. So it is also help wanted issue. So someone tried to help, then actually after that, contributors open on PR to update outdated parts in KO branch. So we check whether the whole English changes had been applied to Korean documents. Okay, then in dev branch, we actually should be the first commit. The updating outdated files should be the first commit. And then next one is the hard work for localization. It is real job in Korean localization team. And according to the Korean localization guide, which was introduced in previous meeting, we already said we have Korean localization guideline document, special document. And in that document, we have some kind of information for team milestone management part and Korean translation style guide, as well as the glossary part.
Mhm.
And then based on that guide, contributors provide the translations in PRs, and we keep improve the quality of localization by reviewing process. Okay, then when after the about the merge target date, then Korean localization team, actually maintainer, work this job. We rebase. In merging stage, we squashing the commit into one. There are lots of Korean localization jobs in terms of the commit. You can see there are lots of commits for Korean localization, and we try to squash it into one log so that we can make a nice GitHub log, Git log.
Mhm.
So we make it into one commit, and then when you check the Git log, then you can see the just one log for the Korean localization dev branch. And we push this this commit to this branch to master branch. So this is the PR to merge Korean dev branch to master. Then it is the same row. So once it has been merged, then we start we make another branch and keep the 2 weeks job again. Okay, I introduced the branch management and branch switching jobs. And so it is a progress in Korean localization team. And as you can see in the 2018, we have some few localization documents. And now you can see there are lots of localization documents and localization teams. It's very good to SIG Docs and Kubernetes website. We are very glad. And as you know, when we build the code to build it by Hugo, then you can check how many pages are in there. And in case of English, there are more than 1,000, and Korean pages about 400. And we checked. We actually focused on the document part, not the blog part. And when we check the number of localized files, number of localized MD files, then as you can see in document part, we have maybe 7 sections, and you can check it through the directory. And actually, our first priority, translation priority, was tutorials part, and second priority was concept part. And as you can see, for the concept part, we almost covered, and priority tutorial part is also almost covered, but we still have lots of job to do in tasks and reference part. So maybe once we fulfill the concept and tutorials, and we will keep going to the other parts as well. Yeah, that's all. That's the whole contents in Korean localization team. Thank you.
Thank you, Soko. That was outstanding. That was an outstanding presentation. And Soko, I want to test myself and see if I really got the important points. So I'm going to tell you what I took away from your presentation, and let me know if I missed anything. So the key things that I heard were, one, you have 2-week development, 2-week translation cycle. You start with a new branch. You get input from the user groups. And what was really, really helpful in the process is you also have a Python tool, I believe, to identify the differences between your 2 branches. So as you're doing your 2-week translation, you have a way to determine the differences between your previous branch and, say, a current branch, the 2 branches. The tool tells you what's changed, and then you can use from that tool. Those are the files, I guess, that you would go to change in the next cycle. And then the other thing I took away is, when it's time to merge back into master, you make sure to squash the commits, because that gives you a much cleaner view of what actually occurred. That's what I took away from the process. And then from the priorities, it sounded like tutorials and concepts were the top priority, and tasks and references would be the next priority. But did I get the essence of the key pieces of your process right, Soko?
You got everything.
Okay.
That's very clear.
Well, the presentation was fantastic. It was
Oh,
excellent.
thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
And, for
By the way,
tools,
would you mind
okay.
to share the link of the presentations in the docs that we have? So maybe the one that missed these presentations can read it later.
Sure, I will share it through the Slack channel.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
yep.
Okay, why not?
And,
And
and this is recorded, so it'll be available on YouTube. So this will live forever, this outstanding presentation.
Yes,
thank you.
exactly.
And the tool for the checking the difference between branches is not only for the Korean localization team, and every localization team can use this tool.
Very nice.
Yeah, you can change it to different language.
Now, where is this tool stored? Is it in the website repository itself? It is.
Yeah, sure. Okay. It is the tree for the website, and as you can see, there is script.
Under Korean. Okay, so
Yeah.
there. It's not under the Korean folder, correct? Is under the Korean folder, or it's under?
No, it's in
No.
the root directories, scripts directory.
So it is in the
Right.
scripts directory. So
Yeah, it's already there in the scripts directory, I think.
okay,
Some folks already use it.
that's
And-
fantastic. So it's easy, very easy for other localization teams to find and use.
Yeah, they also have the usage documentation in the README as well, so it's pretty easy, I
Right.
think.
Actually, that script has been developed by Dok Jun. He was the emeritus of Korean localization team leader. Yeah, he was very nice.
So what I found really interesting is the whole process that you have seems very smooth, right? It's these 2-week translation cycles with a very useful automated tool that helps you to find the differences, and it allows you to organize the chaos that you would normally hit as you're trying to translate the English, which is always changing. So I'm curious, are there other processes used by the other localization teams? Are they using something different than this? Is this, or is this the best practice? It would be curious to see if people look at this from the other localization teams and think either, oh, yes, we use the same process, this is the best practice, or if other teams think, no, we think we have a different process, and here are the advantages and disadvantages between our process and the Korean process. But certainly this is, this one you've demonstrated works very well. So to be curious to see what the other teams think. And I don't know if we have representatives from the other teams on the call.
Actually, I talked to the Chinese team before, and the script that they maintain their own script in a separate repo, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
What they do when they want to differentiate the pages, they compare I think the commit SHA and the timestamp. So basically, they compare. For example, they have translated the page into Chinese today's timestamp, and then the English docs have updated the pages tomorrow or days after. There's a difference in the timestamp, and that's how they detect the changes. Does the diff scripts also do the same thing, or it just does the git diff to differentiate between the content?
So you either, let me just make sure I understand. You've got two ways to say something has become different. you can check and see if the timestamp changed, or you can actually, I guess, do a hash on the content page and see if the hash changed.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I learned from the Chinese team when I talked to them.
So Soko, how does your tool do it? Just curiously.
Yeah, I'm curious how does that diff script work? Does it do git diff to compare the content, or how does it? I haven't really looked into the script.
Yeah, in case of that script, we actually we in Korean KO directory, we only have translated documents. So that, as I know, that script checks the Korean translate files, and we find the same file name from the English directory. And then for that file, if there is the file, then we check the git diff, whether there's changes or not. Then we somehow know the there's Korean translated files, and if there's aligned with the English document, and we only check those files changes. And once we know there are some file changes, then it is reported to us, and we apply these changes to Korean translated files.
Right, now let me see if I understand this. So you have let's say you have a page in the English master. Let's just call it page foo. And you have the translated version of it in a certain branch. So let's call that foo-ko. You've got the Korean version of it. And then when you go to your next branch, when you run the tool, you're gonna go and say, okay, well, there's the Korean version of the page of foo. Now let me go at that time, let me go check the timestamp or use git diff to check the foo version of that from that branch, and then compare it to the one in the new branch and see if if the English version changed from when you translated it. Is that correct? Or am I messing it up?
That's right.
Okay. And you're saying you're able to use git diff to do that because git diff is able to do that for you and say, hey, did these two pages change or not between the English and the one branch compared to the English and the next branch? So the interesting question is, are there any advantage if the Chinese team is doing it not using git diff? Did they so they're doing a custom way of doing it, we think, and we wonder if there's any advantages for their custom way of doing it compared to git diff.
Actually, it is. I think it is applicable for those teams who use the branch strategy. If they have, if Chinese team has dev branch similar with Korean, then they can use the kind of tools to check what is difference between branches. But if they don't use, then maybe they need to do it for each part. So maybe it is a little bit harder. So I'm not sure it is applicable for them.
Okay.
But maybe their process also have a nice point. I'm just talking about Korean team's work.
Okay, so let me see if I understand that correctly. The way that your diff tool works, it works very well with the model you have of saying we're going to do a branch for 2 weeks and then do another branch in the next 2 weeks. And the tool is really tailored for that process. They may have a different way of doing the tool because their branching strategy may be different. That's what I interpreted you're saying.
Right.
And you know, the beauty is teams can decide however they want. I think the key thing is we would want to make sure, at the very least, your approach is very well documented. And then, if there's different ways to do it, we make sure maybe they get documented as well. Because if I was somebody new showing up for my new language, and I wish I could think on the top of my head a language that hasn't been translated, I can't think of a good one, but let's say, let's call it, for lack of let's say the new, let's pick a country. I don't know. Let's say Australian wanted to translate. Then the new team shows up and we could say, well, there's different ways you could do this, but we have multiple, say, best practices. But if you want to do the 2-week development cycle approach that the Korea team uses, here's the way you do it, and here's a tool that makes it easy. And the interesting thing is, you have this all in. Now, is this on the localization page, or this is in your localization page?
Actually, if you check this document in
Okay.
contribute localizing Kubernetes documentation, you can check branching strategy
Okay.
part, and it says it is not the Korean document, it is English document. And you can check a little bit similar the branching strategy with Korean localization teams like dev branch, like this. So maybe new localization team comes and they will search what is how to initiate the localization team or localization. Then I think they will find this document, or we can introduce them.
Right, but does this document mention your tool for identifying the diffs? I don't see that here.
Yes, it don't mentions. Yeah, maybe you can provide. We can update this document to show the details for the branching strategies, such as the using find diff and using the script. I think I can improve this document, but I'm not sure this one is maybe nice way, but not the form process. Even though Korean team use this kind of strategy, because in case of a Korean localization team, Korean localization team members are very similar with the GitHub SIG Docs Korean owners and reviewers is very same, but I'm not sure for the other teams if they are different. For instance, if there is various reviewers for one language, but not making a team, if they don't discuss for some issues, then I'm not sure. I think they are hard to follow those branching strategy. So it is different for the environment and members of the localization teams.
But your tool will work correctly if they follow the branching strategy described on the page already, correct?
Right. I will improve this document.
Yeah. So you might as well add the tool and a short how you use it at which stage. That would be fantastic. And I'll be happy.
Yeah, I can contribute.
Yeah, and be happy to flag me. I'll be happy to review and approve so we can get the document updated. That would be wonderful.
So can you show me the GitHub issue you showed earlier? That
Okay.
contains addition, deletion.
I hope to show the issue for the outdated
This
files.
one. Yeah,
Right.
this one. Can you share? Let's say I want to update one of the pages. What is the next step for you? For example, to
This
update-
is step for this outdated files issue.
yeah, let's say I want to fix the content en/index HTML. What should I do? Should I
Yeah.
go and then run git diff in that page to see the
We
diff?
explained this process Azure and we report bug, the outdated files, what has been changed, what is removed, and we propose a solution of the show in large. Propose the solution and use it to check what is changed in the upstream and apply the upstream changes manually to Korea KO directory for this branch. And we provide example. We go to that dev branch and we use git diff for the listed file. It is outdated one. And then you can check the difference, what actually has been changed. And we open the related translated Korean document and we apply to that Korean localization translated Korean document. So change according to the English changes and make up PR. And so the result is like this. And actually this Java granting number modified for those Korean document for those English document, English changes. And if you see the changes, and we updated like this. Reason why we updated this Korean document is that English, if we check the English document during the two branch, the English also added this sitemap and priority 1.0. So we added it to Korean as well. So actually it is very time consuming job actually. If there are lots of English changes, then when we open this PR, we need to do lots of job. So that's the reason why we keep reduce the duration in 2 weeks. If we use maybe 2 months, then English document maybe change too much, and we are hard to keep up, hard to follow the changes. Then it's very too much work to Korean localization team. So it's like this. So you can check the you can check milestone, and if you see the Korean milestone, then as I mentioned, there are 4 main issues and PRs, and you can check how it works. Is it okay for you, or can you understand?
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you.
One follow-up question. Let's assume there's a 1,000 lines of page that has changed, right? Let's say there's a very big page that has changed roughly 20, 30 lines.
Right.
20
It happens actually. So in the case, even though it is updating outdated files, okay, I will show an example. As I remember, in KO3, there are too much changes, and some document was newly added. In the case, we are hard to do for one PR. So in the case, we try to get help from several contributors. Let me check. Okay. And we put the help wanted, and sometimes there are several assignees to handle one issue. Sometimes there are too much changes, then we invite more contributors to work on this updating outdated parts. Yeah, that happens.
I think I'm really amazed actually how you guys hire the contributors for translation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because like it in Japanese translation we only have like let's say like 3 to 5 active contributors on each milestone.
yeah. Actually, we try to get more contributors. As I mentioned before, we introduced our progress to Kubernetes Korea user group, and if we check my name, we actually spend lots of Korean localization team content to that group. And in that group, there are about 6,000 members. And we introduce our work and our team. And also we provide the contributor's name so that somehow they enjoy the result. Okay. Yeah, contributors list as well.
I see Tim Bannister.
All right. Tim is here. Actually,
Ah.
Tim can speak Korean a little bit, as I know.
Wow.
Actually he also sometimes leave notes and comments and sometimes like nitpicking contributions to Japanese branches too.
Really?
He's literally everywhere.
Yeah, he's everywhere. I don't know what he's really doing.
Yeah.
So-
Actually,
so-
he reviewed Korean as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
So-
key thing I took away is really try in your country to engage the Kubernetes existing groups that are there, right? There's Kubernetes user groups, and doing outreach and convincing them you could really use their help in translation. And if they want to learn how to contribute, this is a great way to learn. Look for the people that I guess know Japanese, know English, and are just trying to get started in contributing to Kubernetes, and convincing them that a great way to learn more about how to contribute to Kubernetes would be, why don't you start with translation?
Right. Actually, we use that strategy, and I sometimes, whenever there is some kind of event,
Mhm.
and I usually participate in that event and discuss about the SIG Docs and Korean localization to participate in Kubernetes. Actually, I did the presentation 2 days before. And those are various efforts to invite many contributors. But as you know, all contributors cannot keep contribute.
Sure.
Yeah, sometimes there are some contributors who can provide lots of contribution for some period,
Mhm.
but they cannot keep doing. And we keep waiting for them and keep call them and try to. We hope to promote to contribute again. That's our job. The Korean localization team invite contributors.
Yep. So yes, we should all be doing outreach. And I know at my company, we have IBM and Japan, and when I encounter those folks, I'll who are working on open source, I'll encourage them that, hey, if you know Japanese and English, we could use some help on the translation. So I'll look out for people in that space, even in my company. But obviously, you'll probably have greater success if you're in your in-country user groups, and so that would be a great approach.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we have pretty much used the full hour. This was incredible. I think it was a really well presented material. I much personally understand the process much better. So thank you so much, Soko, and your willingness to update the localization document so people can then have a better understanding of where the diff tool is in the branch process. I think will be a wonderful addition. So this was a fantastic meeting. We're pretty much out of time. Any last closing remarks from anyone?
Is it possible to have the slides of today?
Yeah, I think Soko said he was going to post them somewhere, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, he will post it in the Slack, I think. He mentioned
Yeah,
it.
Oh yeah.
I will share
And-
the file. Do you
and
need
Sig-
PPT file or PDF file is enough?
Any format is good. I typically post on my speaker deck, so I don't mind any format.
Okay. So, and this is recorded. It will show up on YouTube. So if you want to watch it again, because it was a really great presentation, it will show up eventually there. But Soko, you said you'll post on SIG Docs localization, correct?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I will download the file. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay,
should
and-
invite more people.
Yep.
Right.
So everyone, let's be thinking about for our next monthly meeting, what should be the next topic we cover. So let's all, and I'll put that out on the Slack to think, but this
Sure,
was,
yeah.
this was fantastic for this month. This was very productive. Soko, thank you so much for presenting this process. It was excellent.
Mm.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because I think we're out of time.
Yeah.
There we go. I did it real fast. Thank you everyone for participating. This was great. And I'll make sure to get the time slot right next time, I promise. And we'll talk in a month. Use the Slack channel if you need to talk in between. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thanks.
Bye.